Hey you guys, this is the third episode of Dank Dishes by Dee, and so me and my roommates are heading down to my hometown tomorrow for Mardi Gras. So instead of just making our own dishes for the night, I just decided to make a big family dinner so we could all eat and not have any leftovers before we left town. So I'm making a kale and Brussels sprout salad today, and then white beans with spinach and sausage. So let's get started. Okay, so I just bought already pre-shredded Brussels sprouts at Publix. I think Publix is one of the only stores that has them. And this is a lot easier, but if you're really into like chopping up Brussels sprouts, you have a good food processor, you can totally use that. So I got 2 bags of this. I'm just gonna cut the top off and empty it into a big bowl. And I'm gonna start off with 1 bag, and if we need the second one, we can see. And then I also have some kale here. This is called Lusitano kale. I prefer this than the regular curly kale because it's easier to chop and it's a little harder. So I'm gonna chop all this up, and what we're gonna do is I'm gonna grab a cutting board. So the kale has the stem in the middle of it, and when you're chopping this up, you don't really want the stem in there because it's kind of hard and bitter. So what you do is you can just grab the stem and peel alongside the edge like this. It's a lot easier than I'm making it look. And you can just get the leaves of the kale off the stem, and you can just discard this. So I'm gonna do this for all the kale, and then I'm gonna chop it up. Okay, so I've taken the stems off all the kale. What you're gonna do, it's kind of like when you chop up basil, you kind of wanna grab it all into a little bunch like this and just roll it so you get a nice even chop. And you wanna chop it really, really thinly, so it's kind of the same size as the Brussels sprouts. So now we just have little shreds of kale. Okay, so we've got pretty much all the kale chopped up. I'm just adding the last little bits of it. And what we're also gonna add is I've got one of those, it's probably about 1.5 cups, 2 cups. You can just buy a little pre-shredded Pecorino Romano at Publix or Kroger. It's in a little clear thing, and I'm just gonna add this whole thing to the salad because it's pretty big. And then I also have pine nuts here, which I toasted in butter, but you can buy them pre-toasted, or sometimes pine nuts are a little pricey at the store depending on the season. So you can buy walnuts, almonds, anything you like. Just make sure they're toasted and with a little bit of salt, because I really think that brings out the flavor and makes the salad really delicious. So I'm gonna add all those too. And then to give it kind of like a fruitiness, I'm gonna add dried cranberries. You can add dried cherries or any kind of thing like this you want, raisins. And I'm gonna toss this and get the dressing started. Okay, so we're gonna make the dressing now, and I have 2 Meyer lemons. It's just kind of like a mix between a tangerine and a lemon, and I prefer this a lot. It's like sweeter, less tart. They're kind of hard to find, but when I was at Publix today getting the lemons, I saw these and I had to get them. So lemons are perfectly fine, but I just had these, so I thought they would be good. And you're just gonna juice these. We can strain this later to get the seeds out. Okay, so I've got the lemons, and I'm just gonna strain these because we got some seeds. So you can just strain this into another mason jar or whatever you use to make your salad dressing. Set that aside. And then I've got olive oil, and I'm gonna add about 1/2 cup to make our dressing. And I think good food really starts with the good ingredients you buy at the store. So if you can, buying a better olive oil is always good, because it has like a good grassy taste and it tastes really great in everything you use. Okay, so now I have 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. I'm just gonna add both of these. This is kind of one of your typical salad dressings. And these estimates are pretty rough, so if you don't get it exact, it's okay too. Add all that. And then I've got 1 shallot and 1 clove of garlic, and this is to really give it like an oniony, garlicky flavor. And I made sure to mince them really thin, because really tiny, because you don't want big hunks of raw onion or raw shallot or raw garlic in your salad. Okay, so we've got all this. and I'm gonna go grab the salt and pepper. So I've said this before, but salting and peppering your salad dressing and all components of your dish is super important to keep the flavor going throughout. So I'm gonna grab just a pinch of salt, and then I'm gonna shake this up. Okay, and now it's ready to add to our big salad. I'm gonna give this a toss, and I'm gonna let it sit for 30 minutes because you kind of want the salad to allow the greens to soften a little bit because this is a totally raw salad. So just letting it sit for 30 minutes is gonna do the trick for that. Okay, so the next part of our dinner is white beans with turkey sausage and spinach. I'm gonna serve it over white rice. So to get started, I'm gonna add probably about 3 tablespoons of olive oil because we're gonna caramelize the shallot. And you don't want it to burn on the edges, so having enough oil is really important. I'm gonna turn this on and add, I added about 2 or 3 shallots and I minced them. It's just kind of your preference. And I'm gonna let these caramelize for like 4 minutes. All right, so for the beans, we're gonna have a side of jasmine rice kind of on the bottom of it. So I have 3 cups of water in here. There's about 5 or 6 of us eating, so I'm gonna make a 1.5 cups of rice. So it's just kind of a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 water, 1 rice. And then if you have extra rice, you can always put it in a Ziploc bag and freeze it, and then heat it up really easily with leftovers. So I'm gonna get this going, and once it comes to a boil, you just kind of turn it down really low into a simmer, and then you just cover it. Okay, so we've got the shallot going in here. It's pretty much translucent. It's been going for probably about 4 minutes. And I chopped up 3 cloves of garlic here, pretty big cloves. You want it to have a nice like garlic flavor. And I'm gonna add these like right before the shallot's done. Garlic can burn very quickly, like 30 seconds to a minute it can burn. So you wanna stir it around, and kind of as soon as you start to smell garlic, you wanna add whatever you're cooking to make it stop cooking. So that in this case it would be the white beans. Let this go for about 30 seconds, maybe even less. And then right here I have 5 cans of cannellini beans that I drained and rinsed because it kind of comes in an oil, so you want to make sure you get like a strainer and drain and rinse all of them. And I'm going to add these to the garlic and shallot. And with this, I'm going to add some chicken broth. And it kind of just depends on the serving that you're making, how much you use. So the kind of terminology that I go from is you want to be able to see a little bit of the chicken broth above the beans in the pot. So just a little bit more than the beans. So it really depends. If you just want to make this for yourself, a single serving, the same rule would apply. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to stir it. So these beans are already cooked, so it's not necessary to add the chicken broth. You could just serve it as is. But I think letting them soften up a little bit with the chicken broth gives it a lot more flavor. So also I'm going to add some Italian herbs. Get a nice grate of that in there. And I use low sodium chicken broth. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt, but you want to be careful because a lot of chicken broth does have a lot of sodium in it. So taste test it before you add a lot of salt. A little bit of pepper in here too. And then this is an optional step, but if you like a little heat, I add just like a little bit of chili powder just to give it a little bit of extra flavor. And then what you want to do is you just want to cover this and let the beans absorb the chicken broth for about like 20 minutes. All right, so I've got 2 pounds of turkey sausage here, and you can use any kind of sausage that you want. I'm just trying to make this dish a little light because we're about to travel for a while, I'll probably eat out a lot. But if you're making it at home, you can use andouille sausage or anything you really want. But either way, you want to chop it into about 1/2 inch pieces like this. And I'm going to chop all this up, and then I'm going to sear it. This is totally optional. You could put it in just like this. It's already cooked. But I like to sear it to give it like an extra little like crispy flavor on the end. With turkey sausage, it's important to add oil because it really doesn't have a lot of fat. But if you're doing something like andouille or pork, it does have fat, so you wouldn't have to add oil. Okay, so I've got all the turkey sausage chopped up, and you're just gonna add a little bit of olive oil just to make sure they don't stick. And just turn this on about a medium heat. And do this in batches because you really want each piece to be able to brown. So just kind of spread them out in an even layer, probably about 2 or 3 batches of this. And sear them for about 2 minutes on each side or until they're kind of brown and crispy. You don't want them burned. Just give them a little color. Okay, so our sausage has been on for about 3 minutes per side, and it's starting to brown, so you want to start flipping it because it's going to take a while to flip all of them. Let it go for about the same amount of time on the other side. And once you brown all of it, you can just add it to your white beans. And if it has like a little extra grease in there, it's okay. So I kind of waited till the last minute before the beans are done to chop up the spinach, but I have about a box and a half of just spinach that's already like washed and dried at the store. So you can buy this, and it just like kind of depends on how much spinach you want. So if you want more greens, you can always get like 2 boxes. Just give it like a rough chop. You don't want to cut it into like really tiny pieces because you want to still know that it's spinach, but just like a rough chop. And I'm going to chop all this up, and then once I finish doing this, I'm going to add my sausage. The beans are going to be finished, and then right before they're done, I'm going to add the spinach because you don't want it to wilt too much because spinach wilts really easily. You want to still kind of know it's spinach and have that spinach flavor. So I'm going to finish chopping all this up. Okay, so our salad has been resting for about 30 minutes. The beans are done. So now it's just kind of a matter of plating. So I'm going to put a little bit of salad on each plate. And then I'm going to plate the beans too, so we can get a bowl of beans. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a little bit of rice, and then I'm going to grab the beans to top that. And then I like to add a little bit of hot sauce. I'm just going to put it on the table for my roommates, but if they don't want it, it's totally no big deal. So I'm going to serve this up to them. All right, guys. Dinner is served. Thanks, Dee. Thanks, Dee. Here's the hot sauce, I promise. If y'all like a little heat, totally up to you. And we are going to sit down and enjoy our last meal in Auburn before the big Mardi Gras week. Tune into the Auburn Plainsman for next week's video, and War Eagle.